Council will meet for a joint session Tuesday night with LSR 7 at 6 p.m. at the Green Street Market. Meetings are open to the public or watch live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. Celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Lee Summit Fire Department at a fun-filled open house on October 18th from 9 a.m. to noon at Fire Station Number 7, located at 2150 Southwest Scherer Road. Bring the whole family to tour the fire station and walk through an inflatable house to learn about fire safety. Don't miss this opportunity to honor their legacy and join the celebration. The city is hiring a planner or senior planner to join development services. This role reviews development proposals, assists with permits, and provides zoning and planning guidance. It also supports long-range efforts like the Ignite Comprehensive Plan and housing initiatives. Apply today at lspeople.net. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. We can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those. And it goes through, it's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out, letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. And there's a finished product of the street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're going to go out and follow our sign guys, get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T?
AT&T's back here.
Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. These come up too. Perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple. Quick.
Officers en route, 914, armed robbery.
Waterway Car Wash is coming to the streets of West Pryor. It'll provide an express or full-service car wash and a convenience store on location. Waterway Car Wash will open in fall 2025. Ancho and Agave is coming to Summit Fair. The restaurant features Mexican food with a made-from-scratch menu in a casual setting. Ancho and Agave will open in fall 2025. Hemline's Boutique and Home has arrived downtown. The boutique offers a curated collection of clothing, specialized accessories, and trendy home goods. Shop the latest styles today. Midwest Avionics and Summit Flight Academy are building a hangar at the Lee Summit Municipal Airport. The repair station and flight school's very own hangar will open for operation in fall 2025. The Joint Operations Facility is being built next to police headquarters. The building will house fire department administration and training teams, city emergency operations, the traffic operations center, and a co-located fire and police communications center. Completion of the project is slated for spring 2026.
When I was about 9 years old, my mother promised me that she would buy me a little black poodle for my birthday. The poodle was here in Lee Summit. We lived in Independence. I had never been to Lee Summit before. And the funniest thing when I got here, I just thought to myself, I want to live in Lee Summit someday. So in 1975, we moved here and we bought a little house in Briarcroft for $28,000. We started having children after that. We wanted to become part of this community.
Call regular session number 61 to order. Roll call.
Mayor Rhodes, he kept seeing me show up at the council meetings and he said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, I want to know more about what's going on with the city." I was asked to be on the tax review board.
To order the Lee Summit Planning Commission.
Then I applied to be on Planning Commission and I spent 4 years there. But I said, if I dip my toe in the water with planning and I love it, I'm going to try for council.
I state your name.
I, Cindy Rader,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
2024.
on the 16th day of April 2024. Thank you, Mayor. So then going along with what Councilmember Carlisle said, we just get back into the room and we hammer it out. And get. You know, we sit on the dais, right? And that's kind of one of the most intimidating things that you do is like being out there in front of people and being worried about, you know, saying the right thing or not saying the right thing. I want to make the right decision. I want to say things that will be impactful, that will be influential, that will help our city more. Most people know this on the dais. I am very impassioned about housing. It's partly because I've done real estate for 30 years, but it's not because I want to sell more houses. It's because we have a need, a tremendous need here in Lee Summit and really all over the country. There are a lot of people that want to come to Lee Summit. They want to live here, they want to buy homes here. I'm excited to get more attainable homes, start bringing in families, providing senior housing, workforce housing, all those things that we need if we're going to continue to grow and become bigger and better. We're really in a good place for the future, but we need to continue bringing people in to be our future leaders. The young people that will be coming to live here, stay here, have a stakehold in the community, building businesses here. I built a business here. There's other people that want to come here and live and start. It's just important for people to always be involved in the city. It makes us a better city.
Public Works Committee meeting, please. May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Here.
Vice Chair Rader.
Present.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Present.
Councilmember Hodges.
Here.
Thank you. May I please get an approval of the agenda?
Chair, I move for the approval of the agenda. Second.
May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
And Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Public comments. We have 3 public comments. I don't know who wants to go first, but we have Bill Christie, Brian Jones, and David Grady. So out of you 3, whoever wants to go first. Oh, where is the public? Oh, I have to read something first, though. Let me find it. This is a time set aside on the agenda for citizens to address the mayor and council on items on the agenda or items related to the operations of the city. Speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes. Minutes may not be transferred from one speaker to another. The mayor may declare, or the chair may declare, a speaker out of order if the speaker's comments are 1, not related to an item on the agenda, 2, not related to the general operations of the city, 3, related to a specific public hearing on this agenda, 4, disruptive of an orderly and fair discussion, 5, entail profanity or threats of violence, 6, attacks on another private citizen. The council will not act on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to its questions. Staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The mayor and council welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone? Oh yeah, we already know we have 3 speakers. It's really important that we do stick to the 3-minute time frame. Thank you.
Hello. As stated, my name is Brian Jones. I'm a driver manager with Kansas City Disposal, and I just have a statement I'd like to read. Kansas City Disposal is a locally family-owned business. We are proud to serve Lee Summit and are concerned that this council's actions are going to put us out of business in Lee Summit. We have tried to meet with city staff and elected officials to have a meaningful dialogue about how to meet the city's goals without putting all local haulers out of business. So far, the city has not engaged with us to try and solve this problem in a way that may allow small business to continue providing residents with local, reliable, and affordable collection service. The city seems set on handing the citywide contract over to a single national hauler. They are the only ones big enough to take on the entire city. At city council meetings this spring, we heard the mayor and council talk about the value of small local haulers. How they wanted to use zones within the RFP process to level the playing field for small haulers, and how they wanted to meet these issues head on. So far, we haven't heard anything. We're willing to work with residents, other haulers, elected officials, and city staff to create a system that works for the city. Please help our family business stay in business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Grady?
I am Dave Grady, and I've been in Lee Summit now for about 37 years, built a couple houses here, and I've enjoyed living here in Lee Summit. And I I just wanted to talk a little bit about the blessing of God on America through capitalism. We have about 4% of the world's population, yet we generate 24% of the world's gross domestic product here in America. I think that is God's blessing, but it's also because of capitalism. And the more the government grows and takes over things, the worse our debt gets, the worse our problems get. And capitalism has worked so well for us in free enterprise. I hate to see the city going and putting private haulers out of business to elect just one trash company for 5, 6, 8 years. I've heard different things by different members of the council discussed. I don't think really we should be making long-term contracts that go well beyond your term in office. You know, you're committing people who might be elected here 2, 3, 4 years from now who would still have to deal with the contract. So I like to stick with capitalism. It's worked very well for us, and I would like to stay away from socialism, Marxism, communism, whatever you want to call it, and let the free enterprise system do its duty. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And then I guess that takes us to Mr. Bill Christie.
Hi, my name is Bill Christen. I've been in Lee Summit for about 37 years. I've been in the recycling business and hauled many tons of trash and so forth. When I kind of heard about the consolidation of the trash pickup, I started looking in my neighborhood and neighborhoods around. I live over on Chipman and Pryor. But if you go up and down the streets and you see 4 to 5 different companies with trash containers, and knowing that each of those has to have a truck that goes by. So if you figure a block is a mile, you have 5 trucks, you have 5 miles of trucks going up and down the street. If you have one hauler, you have one truck that hauls 1 mile and picks up all the trash. I think the consolidation is a very good idea. If you look at the, and depending on what happens, if you look at the trash along the highways, depending on what hauler receives the bid, a lot of trash problems are going to be taken care of in the city of Lee Summit. I did a study on one truck. If you take one truck that does the loop, if you take one truck away from that loop, 2 trucks would be 60,000 miles on the roads. One truck is 30,000 miles on the road. So if you can limit your trucks, you limit the wear and tear on your streets, accidents as far as highway accidents, and I just think the consolidation is a very good idea. I think it's going to save the community a lot of money, trash, and I just think it's a very good concept, and I'm very much for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. Now on to the first item of business, approval of 2025-7211, approval of the September 8th, 2025 Public Works Committee action letter. May I please get a motion in a second?
Chairman Pryor, before we move on to the next agenda, if it's your pleasure, I did receive one after you had started the meeting.
Okay.
If you want to hear that comment as well. And I can...
Yeah, I'll come get it. Mr. Rhodey Taylor?
Thank you, man. Rhodey Taylor, 3308 Southwest Arena. Lifelong resident of Lee Summit, class of 98. Also owner of a Casey Dumpster Company, a hauler here in Lee Summit. I want to speak in favor of this. And here are my reasons why. As a resident of Lee Summit, the only thing I've ever heard the city talk about in any public or private meetings that I've had with anyone is the desire to have fewer trucks on the streets. And as somebody who lives in a neighborhood that has just one trash service there in our subdivision, it's really nice to have all the trash out behind our houses on Tuesdays. You hear what I'm saying? And I drive down other streets that don't have that. And I see the wear and I see the abuse and I see those streets when I'm on them in town. And I think that this can solve that problem. And I think it's a big problem for the city. Now I hear, and as a trash hauler, I hear these other concerns, and I think these concerns are valid. But I think you guys can do it in a way that still maintains the integrity of some of that stuff. I think there's ways that you can structure this deal that give different guys the opportunities to, and by the way, I'm a hauler that won't be a part of this. I don't haul that kind of trash. But I think there's a way that you can structure it. So I think you can listen to these concerns, but I still think that you should vote in favor of it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, first item of business, may I please get a motion and a second for the action letter?
Chair, I make a motion for the approval of the September 8, 2025 Public Works Committee action letter.
Second.
Thank you. May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next item, TMP-3374, an ordinance approving an award of RFQ number 2025-070 for professional engineering services for Scherer Road Reconstruction, Ward Road to M291 by and between the city of Lee Summit, Missouri, and Lochmueller Group Inc. in the amount of $1,249,297 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same. Mr. Persing?
Yeah, good evening, Council. John Persing, staff engineer. This item's for the design contract for Lochmueller Group for the design of Scherer Road. We're going to do from 291 to Ward. It'll be mostly, we'll do a full replacement, probably 3 lanes, sidewalk facilities, stormwater, just kind of a reimagining of that corridor through there, improve sight distance on some of those neighborhoods too. So, with that, any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? I don't see any questions. May I please get a motion and a second?
Chair, I move for the full approval to Council TMP-3374, an ordinance approving the award of RFQ number 2025-070 for professional engineering services for Scherer Road Reconstruction, Ward Road to M291 by and between the city of Lee Summit, Missouri, and Lochmueller Group Inc. Incorporated in the amount of $1,249,297 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
And Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item, TMP-3410, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a surface transportation block grant program funding agreement between the city of Lee Summit, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission related to the public improvements project designated as Federal Project Number STBG 3374 Scherer Road Reconstruction, Ward Road to Jefferson Street within the city limits of Lee Summit, Missouri, and authorizing the mayor to execute the same.
Glad you guys were in favor of the last one, because this is for the funding for the same project for Scherer Road from 291 to Ward. We get $4.1 million. It's an 80-20 split. The feds pay the 20, or the 80, we pay the 20. So, yeah. Any questions? Happy to answer them.
I have one, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Rader.
Thank you, Chair. Can you explain a little bit more about the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program and how we get that funding?
Councilmember Rader, perhaps I can address that question a little more comprehensively. So the Surface Transportation Block Program is part of a federal transportation bill. Provides funding for roads and also non-motorized transportation through different programs. Think of surface transportation as the most broad or largest pot of money that the feds look for us to competitively seek projects. We compete in an application process through Mid-America Regional Council. as does every other community within the Mid-America Regional Council area for these funds. And so the funds then are sub-allocated to us as agencies based on the merits of our projects, how well those projects compete among other projects. And for us, Scherer Road was one of those higher rated projects. And then it's not just a scoring, but there are a number of factors that go into the actual project selection by the committees at Mid-America Regional Council.
So, Mr. Parks, is this going to, I mean, I know there was a lot of, I've received some emails, and I know there's a conversation about Scherer Road and that it was a dangerous road. So I'm guessing that hopefully these things are going to help solve some of the problems with the curve. There's no curves, I guess, on Scherer Road, are there?
So there's no horizontal curves. There are numerous vertical curves that present some safety concerns out on Scherer Road. It is a narrow roadway, no shoulders. We have seen in our past fatalities on even this part of Scherer Road. So, and I should also clarify, when it comes to Mid-America Regional Councils, the committees that make up those decisions consist of like myself and Mr. Binger and others from around the region who form the committees that review the applications and then make recommendations. Ultimately, it's the MARC Board of Directors that does approve things as they move from an STP committee through a Total Transportation Policy Committee on the way up to the highest levels. And I believe Mayor Pro Tem Lopez currently sits on the MARC Board, so he's part of that decision-making process.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Any additional questions? May I please get a motion and a second?
Chair, I would move item TMP-3410 on to full council with a recommendation of approval, please.
Second.
Thank you. May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
And Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Our next item, TMP-3447, an ordinance awarding the bid for project number 718 for the Sidewalk Gap Project Phase 2 to Phoenix Concrete LLC in the amount of $561,957.80 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Good evening, Erin Rolovo, Senior Staff Engineer. This is the same project I presented to the committee back in August. It was awarded to a contractor. However, that contractor was unable to fill the contractual obligations. And so now we are asking that the contract be awarded to the next responsible bidder, which is Phoenix Construction. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councilmember Rader?
Thank you, Chair. So I want to talk about the pricing a little bit.
Sure.
So was the last contractor, was he around the same price as the one that you selected, the Phoenix Concrete?
No, he was significantly less, which was part of the reason that he was unable to fulfill the contract. He was unable to get the required bonds for the contract. And so that's why he had to back out of the contract.
Okay, so I understand how bids work, but there's a huge difference between the Myers Concrete Landscape and the other two bids.
Yes, ma'am.
And so do you just put this out for bid on the website and then people just come to you, and is that how it works? Or are there particular companies that you would rather use because of their reputation and you know that they'll do good work and they'll finish the work? Was that involved in any of these?
So in general, for just the bidding process, we put it out on a website, and there are keywords associated with bids, and so contractors can go on there and enter which keywords they want to be alerted to, and then so we put in the information on our end. It alerts those keywords to them, and then they go and decide whether they want to put in a bid or not. And then we receive those bids. We have a pre-construction meeting about 1 week after the bid is placed onto the website to answer any questions that they might have or any concerns that they have coming in. And then we open the bids a week after that. And And then we evaluate the bids on, we take a look at the bids and evaluate them each, and usually we go with the lowest bidder unless we have had reason in the past working with them or whatever to determine that they are not a suitable bidder. But that's never happened in my time here, so.
Was that the case with this bid? Because Myers was substantially less than.
So we had a meeting specifically with Myers once the bids were received, and because they were so much lower, we discussed with them, are you aware of the different parts of the work and what's required? And they were very positive about all of it. They were aware that, they had to pay federal wage rates and all of that, and didn't have a problem with it. They are out of St. Louis, and so he said that in the St. Louis market, their bid would have been a higher bid than others. So, we felt fairly confident after speaking with him that, he had a good understanding of the work that needed to be done and was capable of doing it. So that's why we chose to go with them in the first place.
The Myers Concrete?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good. Great. Okay, that sounds great. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? May I please get a motion in a second?
Chair, I move for the full council approval TMP-3447 An Ordinance awarding the bid for project number 718 for the Sidewalk Gap Project Phase 2 to Phoenix Concrete LLC in the amount of $561,957.80 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
I'm sorry, I have discussion. There's two different numbers here. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Chair. Mrs. Ravolo said that it was Myers, which it isn't Myers, it's Phoenix.
Phoenix.
It's Phoenix.
It was, Myers was the original contractor who was the
I
low
see.
bidder.
Okay, all right.
And
okay.
now we're asking to have Phoenix take it
Okay,
over.
all right. Thank you. Second.
Thank you. Second. I have a motion and a second. May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
And Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item on the agenda, 2025-7214, discussion contracted residential solid waste services, RFP development. Mr. Park?
Yes, good evening. Michael Park, Director of Public Works, and I'll also be joined by Mike Anderson, Deputy Director, for this presentation tonight, continuing what we had begun at the last Public Works Committee meeting. I'll go through very quickly the engagement process, where we are, kind of just a status update. I know you received a status report as a full council not too long ago. But really, the purpose of tonight's agenda is to finish up that RFP discussion. You remember last time we had a lot of different key elements that we discussed. We want to make sure that we come back to those that you had questions on, as well as then finish that discussion. And if you're prepared to, after tonight, advance that RFP to the full council. If not, we're more than welcome to continue to address questions that you have and come back in November to then wrap it up. So just kind of a very high level, kind of summarizing where we began was with a strategic plan, recommendation and goal. City Council had a retreat, identified this as one of their top priority goals to advance during 2025. We had council work sessions, developed a engagement plan, took council direction to issue the 2-year statutory notice, and then have been working with the Public Works Committee since. We've been reviewing best management practices, peer communities, and with consultants, held HOA meetings, industry representative meetings. That's our one-on-one conversations with haulers who are engaged in this business, including then having other public comments and public meetings, one public meeting, informational meeting in each council district, having a solid waste task force. They have completed their work, which was to review those comments, review our notes and preference for the community and advise staff what to present to Public Works Committee for a Public Works Committee to develop an RFP that you would like to advance to the City Council for consideration. And here's where we are now, hopefully at Public Works Committee, to try to wrap up some of our conversation on what you want to see in a contract. Essentially, that's where we're leading, is to a contract to put out for advertisements so that businesses that are in residential trash hauling can compete. Maybe they join together. There's a whole lot of different ways that we have prepared this proposal to allow for an assortment of responses to be submitted. Whether you're a smaller company looking to grow, a larger company who thinks you can handle it all, or multiple companies joining together to submit a response on behalf, and then be up to them to figure out how they split it out and make it work. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Anderson, and he will kind of do a summary of where we left off last time and review those issues that you had questions on, and then continue with the rest of the recommendations.
Good afternoon, Mike Anderson, Deputy Director of Public Works. I'm going to go through the RFP key considerations rather quickly. These are essentially the same thing that we talked about last time, but last time there were a few questions that came up along the way, and we'll try to address those. So again, this is for single family and multifamily residential that utilize polycarts curbside. That's all we're picking up. We're not picking up apartments or commercial services. Existing HOAs who have contracts can maintain those contracts without problem, but there will not be any provisions for individuals to opt out. As far as a term, we're looking at an initial 5-year term with up to 3 2-year renewals. Annual increases will be based on the CPI, but will be capped at 4%. And the price that, if we go out to proposal and get prices back, that will be the initial prices for 2027. So we're not going to have a couple years of increases while we wait. Again, this is for weekly solid waste, recyclables, yard waste, and quarterly bulky item pickup. We included an amnesty week. That's the week after Christmas, where you can have up to 4 extra bags or 4 extra boxes of trash that are placed outside the container, and also Christmas tree disposal annually as part of the basic plan. No periodic extra trash accommodations. So no bag, no tags. We're not going down that path. People can get additional, if you have a large family and you want an additional solid waste bin or a recycle bin, you can get more. Initially, we were looking at a 95-95 as the default. But we're probably going to look at where people can say, hey, I just want a 95 and a 65 up front. But say in that first 6 months they change their mind. In that first 6 months they can change the size of their containers with no fee. After that they could change, but there would be a fee associated with that. We did want to include a snowbird service where for a 3-month minimum, if you know you're going to be out of town for 3 months minimum, 9-month maximum, you can cancel your service or really suspend your service and not be charged for that quarter. No at-your-door service, but we did have in the RFP that you must make reasonable accommodations for those that have physical challenges. We did want to include a senior discount. You made it very clear. We do not want to rely on any kind of Jackson County data. So I am one of those people that got my property tax freeze this year, and I know I get a letter and an email from the county that says, hey, you're in this. You're in the program. Congratulations. So what we would say is we would tie it to the property tax free, but make that where the property owners have to self-report that, not rely on county data. We do want to include additional bulky item pickup for a fee. So if people do want to do that, they can. Again, emergency support services will not be part of a mandatory requirement, but could be a factor to consider in the evaluation process. Contractor to provide new containers. There was a question, do we want to utilize the containers that are out there? You know, is it wasteful to take all these containers out and just get all new? After discussions with that, you know, the bottom line and the biggest challenge we have is we don't really have a right to those containers that are out there now. We don't own them. The properties don't own them. The individual haulers own those containers. So we're going to have to give them the opportunity to pick those containers up. Unfortunately, we won't know until the last minute if they're going to pick them up or not. So we decided that it is absolutely the best thing to go forward with new containers. And really, number one, for that whole ownership issue. But number two, you know, for the consistency and for the look, you know, just for the consistency that what you driving through the neighborhood, all the cans are going to be the same, and we're not going to have old cans that are falling apart. So we do recommend going with the all-new containers. We will give the opportunity for all the haulers to pick those up. And then what's not picked up, the city will have to pick those up. And we do have a line to a couple companies that will take those and repurpose them. So again, the optional sizes, the 95-gallon or the 65-gallon will be the only two sizes. 95 each will be default. People can mix and match the size of the containers that they want. There's no minimum number of containers. I mean, you'll have to have one for trash because you have to have trash service. But if people don't want recycle, they can say, don't bring me out a recycle container. I don't want that. As far as the look, we just want to go with a basic black containers for both trash and recyclables. Have a black lid on the trash, a blue lid on recycle, with a QR code on the back side of the containers that would link to our city website on solid waste programs and kind of the rules and regulations. And I figured it's better to have a QR code to a website because that way, as the rules and regs change, everything's kept up to date. Again, contractor to provide the containers needs to hang on to any surplus to have some inventory for change outs. They're responsible for their storage and the maintenance and replacement. Again, at the end of the contract, they will be city-owned. So if we do have, and I say city-owned, but really they kind of belong to the property. If we get a new provider, we're not going to have to recollect all these containers and remake new containers. We've got good, nice, uniform containers that should be maintained along the way. No reason to have to switch them out. Again, during that transition, current providers will be given the opportunity to collect their cans, their trash carts, hopefully, within that last week, right following the last pickup. New carts not to be delivered more than 2 weeks ahead of the initial pickup. And again, unwanted carts, the city will pick those up, and we do have a line on some companies that will repurpose those. Customer service will be the responsibility of the contractor with city oversight. The contractor is going to be responsible for all account management and billing. There is performance criteria in the agreement and liquidated damages associated with each one of those performance criteria, and we're going to go through that following this. And then also, I'd like to touch on the selection criteria. So before I get into performance measures and associated liquidated damages, any questions on the RFP scope of services?
Any questions? I actually do have a couple. So the bulky item that you mentioned.
Right.
So I know for several of the cities, Belton, Raymore, Greenwood, they do have a bulky item pickup, and how Constable currently does it. Bulky item pickup, first trash day of the month, I believe, and then would that still be part of this, or are you saying every bulky item would be an additional cost?
There would be quarterly, so 4 times a year. What that schedule, we'd have to work that out, through the final negotiations, but 4 times a year, there would be bulky item pickup included in the base price. And then there would be, if you wanted an additional bulky item, there would be a fee associated with that.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I just wanted to clarify it.
Yep.
And then
but 4 freebies.
The at your door service, that one not being in here does kind of concern me. I don't know. So, and I'm going to keep referencing to Constable because I'm, like I've stated before, I'm a big fan of local, and they're our only true local company out of our city. But so the at your door service, what does that? So my mother-in-law actually uses that, and I don't know if this is what the at your door service is, but they will come to her garage door because she's unable to take her trash cans to the end of her driveway.
Yes.
Is that what at your door service is?
Yes. If for some reason you just don't have the ability to get your can down to the curb, if there's for whatever reason, then that's something you can work out one-on-one with the hauler. We're not putting it in there. We're not trying to add a fee to that. The feedback we got from the haulers was, that's something they would just rather handle on a one-on-one basis. Just talk to the people and work something out versus having something in the contract and having some sort of procedure to verify and qualify for that service. They just felt like it was better for them to just handle that on a customer service basis.
Okay, but it would be in the RFP that they would have to work something out with.
Yeah, so it is in the RFP that they must provide reasonable accommodations.
Okay.
And to us, a reasonable accommodation for someone that physically can't get their can to the curb would be to go to the garage and get it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hodges?
So I just had a question regarding like customer service. So I'm thinking if one contractor takes over our entire city, that's a lot more customers for this one company. So customer service wise, I mean, they're inevitably, no matter what company you are, you're going to have people wanting to call you for one reason or another. So how do we ensure in this that they are fully equipped with the amount of customer service reps to take the calls? Because I'm thinking we will be getting these emails, we will be getting these calls, which is fine. That's our, we'll help them out. But I don't think that's something we should be willingly signing up for, not knowing that they're going to have the appropriate staff.
And that's really two of the things we're going to be talking about next. Is one is what those performance expectations are with respect to customer service and what the penalties will be if you don't meet that, but also in the RFP evaluation process. And that's kind of what we call your project approach. They understand, what those customer service expectations are. So we want to see in their proposal, what does your customer service staff look like? How many people is that? How do you plan on meeting all, these calls? There's going to be roughly 26,000 homes probably you're picking up for. How are you going to handle that and ensure and make us confident that you can handle it? And that's going to be part of the thing that we evaluate the proposals on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. All right, go ahead. Thank
All
you.
right, so let's get into and this would really be more part of the agreement, not necessarily, the agreement is part of the RFP, but this would be in the agreement. So these are the expectations that we would define in some of the what we call liquidated damages associated with that. Before I get into all these, I just want to say at a high level, I don't want to charge our customer or our contractor liquidated damages. I don't look at this as a moneymaker. I look at this as this is our way to express the expectation and to incentivize them to meet that expectation. If we're charging liquidated damages, they're not doing well and our customers aren't happy for some reason. So in a perfect world, we never have to go down this path. But we've got to have a hammer there, so to speak. So this is our hammer. So any violation of local, state, or federal regulations, be it our code, MDNR, would be $500 per incident. And again, if they're notified, here's a problem, if they jump on it, they fix it, they show us what they've changed in their process to make sure that never happens again, we may or may not charge them that $500. It's really about getting action and making sure it's fixed and doesn't happen again. If it continues, then obviously we're going to start charging them those fees. Failure to clean up leakages or spills, caused by the contractor within one business day of receiving a complaint. You get a truck out there and it blows a hydraulic line, you've got a day to get out there and clean it up. Otherwise, we're going to charge you $250. Failure to maintain vehicles or other equipment in a manner that prevents those types of things from happening, it's $100 per incident. Failure to notify the property owner or the city of any damage. You're running large equipment down residential streets, stuff happens. A mailbox may get taken out. That's not the end of the world. But if it happens, you make sure the property owner is aware, you make sure the city is aware, and you make sure that's repaired in 7 days. And if it's not, it's $250 per incident. I don't know what the reporting will be yet. That's something we'll still have to work out. But absolutely, there's going to be probably weekly reports, monthly reports, annual reports. That might be to document set outs that weren't accepted, and I'm going to talk about what that is. So we have an incident or a record of it, maybe how many homes they picked up, any incidents they had. Hey, we had a truck failure. We were late on this neighborhood by 24 hours. This is why. Things like that. So we can just track what's going on with the contract and how they're doing. Failure to give us those reports would be $250. Miscollection. If for some reason a property owner is in miscollection, they'll have 24 business hours to get that trash. That's essentially about 2 days to pick up that trash. Otherwise, that address is going to get a free month service. There again, if it was missed because it was put out too late, it's going to be up to the contractor to show and prove to us, hey, here's our video record of that street, that can was purely not there, or we did not pick it up because they had waste mixed in with the recycle, and we saw that, and that's why we didn't pick it up. If that's the case, then no problem, but if there it was and they just missed it, then you've got 24 business hours to pick it up, or someone's getting a free month service. We're probably looking at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. as normal business hours, or a 12-hour day. If you're working outside those hours, $250 per vehicle that's out. Failure to perform proper billing procedures. So if for some reason you're billing somebody for an extra service they didn't ask for, an extra container, if you don't get that fixed within 2 business days, it's a $100 fine. Failure to maintain carts in proper working order. Somebody reports a cart that's damaged for some reason. You've got 10 days to get it out there. A new one, or it's $100 each. Failure to return cart in a standing position that complies with city code, and that's off the street, $50 per incident. Again, I don't suspect Chris is going to be driving around looking for knocked over carts, but if we have a systemic problem, this is our way of dealing with that. Placing material into a container not designated for that type of material. So if we see them sticking recycle into a municipal waste truck that's going to go to the landfill, that's a major problem, because we're paying for recycling. Our customers expect that what they put in the recycle bin is going to make it to a recycle facility and not the landfill. So that's a pretty big one, $1,000. Failure to update the routing maps to us. Might seem, why do we want the routing maps? But there again, you mentioned it, we're going to be getting phone calls. Somebody misses our street, and maybe it's because there was a routing change, and we want to make sure that our staff is aware. Hey, I know you guys used to be on Wednesday, but they changed the route. You guys will be picked up tomorrow. We have to be aware of those changes. Failure to leave an education tag if materials not prepared properly. What that is, if there's an inappropriate set out. So there again, if for some reason the contractor goes to pick up the trash and doesn't pick it up intentionally, it may be there's bags outside the container. It's not an expectation that they get out and pick up bags outside the container. If there's trash mixed in with recycling, we don't want them to take that and contaminate the entire load. But if they don't pick it up because there's something wrong, then they have to put an they have to tag that and say, hey, I did not pick this up and this is why, so that we're educating our citizens as we go. Distributing carts and other containers that don't meet the specs, be $100 per incident. Don't see why they would want to do that, because that would hurt them. Failure to respond to any customer complaint received within 8 business hours. So if somebody calls and complains, we expect you to get back to that person within 8 business hours. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have it resolved, but hey, we got your message, we realize we missed it, we're going to be back tomorrow to pick it up. And then they have the 24 business hours to pick it up. Failure to report document complaints. Again, as part of that reporting process, we want to know what complaints they're receiving so that we can keep tabs. It's just our litmus test, so to speak, on how they're doing and what our customers are feeling. And then we get into some pretty egregious things here. If for some reason we enter into a contract and they don't start picking up trash, it'll be $3,000 a day. If that happens for more than 3 consecutive days where they haven't picked up a minimum of 95% of all the scheduled homes, that's going to be a $50,000 fee and $15,000 per day. You know, when this kind of things happen, this is when we're talking about, not meeting the requirements of the contract, and we talk about potentially terminating a contract. Certainly that would be our last resort, because we really don't want to have to stop in the middle and switch. But would be a pretty egregious. And there again, disposal of program recyclable material. If a recycle truck is seen at a landfill and just dumping all the recyclables, be $2,500 per incident.
I think we have a question.
Yes,
quick,
and
if
that's a
okay.
good time, because that's all of the performance criteria.
Oh, perfect. Councilmember Hodges?
So I had a question about all the incidences, so whether it minor to these extreme ones. So say the extreme one, we'll just take the 50,000 since it's on the screen. So that money obviously is going to the city, so I guess I'm confused, because the offense isn't necessarily to the city when they're not the ones paying for the service. So can you explain that to me? Because I feel like it should be a
Sure.
credit to the people they're not servicing
Right.
well.
To me, there might be multiple things going on here, and that's one of the reasons why we have, hey, we don't pick up your trash, you get a month's free service. If we are, doing this 50,000, because they're not, it may be on us, because we may have to hire somebody else to come out here and do it. If they're not doing it, or we'll have to call their bond company, and it is going to be a significant impact to staff. I had kind of the same question in my mind, though, honestly, as we're going through this. Where would this money go? Would this go into the post-closure fund? I mean, those are kind of details we really need to work out. Certainly things that impact the residents, and to us, the obvious one was, we don't pick up your service. We don't pick up your trash. That's free service for you. That's the benefit to you. Some of these other things for customer, do have an impact on staff. And there again, I'm hoping not to make a bunch of money off of this. But that is something we'd have to kind of determine. Where does this money go? What's the most appropriate place for it to go?
Right, yeah, I think that's something that I would like an
Yeah.
answer to. Just so we have everything in place.
Sure.
And there's as much transparency as possible, because I don't want to ever do something like this where we're charging the citizens and then it looks like we're doing it because we want to make profit for the city.
Yeah, no, and that's
So
not
I think we need something in place that's more concrete, saying, obviously this 50,000, it's worst case scenario. But there's other things on here too that may or may not happen. But I think we need to be able to say, no, here's where it's going, and this is where it will be used for, and it's coming back to residents in one way or another.
And one of the, a couple of the areas that made sense to me, even post-closure fund, and I don't know if that's really the right place, but certainly to to fund recycle programs. We had to close the North Recycle Center. Maybe there's enough funds here we can open a North Recycle Center. Or maybe there's a fund that's built up where we can provide educational materials, and just a funding stream for those type of expenditures.
Yeah, Councilmember Hodges, I think we tried to identify those that you could clearly see were a direct impact to the resident, to the customer. They would be the ones who receive the benefit of those errors and mistakes that the contractor has a damage for. You missed pickup, some of those things. The others, I think that is something the city council should discuss, where they want those to go. It could go towards beautification efforts, could go towards some of our expenses if we have to hire, whether it's maybe a litigation, pursuit of alternative collection resources. There's a number of things that the city could incur costs as we pursue these sort of damages or the corrective measures of the damages that were caused. Could go towards litter cleanup and other programs if that's what the full council would like it to go. We certainly haven't identified any particular directive of where these particular penalties would go towards, because they really aren't. They are for the residents, but it's not, you can't point to any particular resident, right? Because these are hitting like a missed schedule for an entire community. They're hitting a trash truck that's leaked all over the roadway, and that doesn't go to a homeowner, that goes to our cleanup efforts or to some other effort around the whole solid waste industry, I would think. But that's up to the entire council to decide. And we haven't proposed in the RFP, nor I think we would propose where the funds go outside of just those that we know are directly impacting a property owner.
Okay, but that's something that we will nail down before we move forward, though, correct?
That would definitely be something, as mayor and council, you want to nail down, either as you've approved a contract or before the implementation of any contract, which wouldn't start before July of 2027. So you have plenty of time for that. I don't think that has any bearing on the actual RFP, on the proposals and the submittals that are coming in, because this is what the contractor's delivering. What you're talking about is what does the city do with the money if there's penalties and damages. You can make that decision and change that decision anytime you want.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions right now? Councilmember Carlisle?
So I heard you say that we're going to put a QR code on the back. So we're going to have a dedicated page on our website for trash
Right.
hauling and
Yes.
recycle.
Yes.
So on that page, would we also put up educational items of what you can and can't put in your garbage,
Yes.
what you can and can't put in your recycle, all those things?
Yes, that's the that's the primary purpose. You know,
Right,
what
yeah.
can I put in my can? What can't I put in my can? You know, and obviously, all the details of that webpage haven't been, you know, worked out, but I'm sure the contractor's route will be scheduled, you know, will be shown there. So if you're new to Lee Summit, hey, when do they pick up my trash? You can go to that QR code, find your map. Oh, they pick me up on Wednesdays.
Okay,
That
great.
kind of information.
And then also, aside from the educational things, like yes and no, what you can and can't put, if it's a no, are we going to give them, like you can't put it in your household hazardous waste? Well, then
Right.
what do we do with that? We're going to have that also,
Certainly
right?
links out to the, you know, the Resource Recovery Park and what services we have out there, or other type of recyclable, you know, facilities within the area. Probably even information, you know, tied to Mark and the whole region.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rader?
Thank you, Chair. I'll go ahead and ask my questions now.
Sure.
Where did you get the performance criteria? Did you, guidelines here, the liquidated damages, did you pull that from other cities
I
that have
did.
done?
The city of Warrensburg has gone through this recently, and we really like their template and kind of like their baseline. And this was really heavily used there, a lot of their criteria as a template and a baseline. So this isn't unheard of to the industry. This is a lot of these numbers, and we tweaked them a little bit. They were even higher on some that we thought were just a little bit extreme, and we backed off on some. But really, the city of Warrensburg that did this about 2 years ago was our primary template for these.
Okay, thank you. And there's a lot of accountability with this.
Right.
So my question is, who is going to be in charge of all this accountability and review the reports?
Yes. Our
Okay, and then a question of, so how are you going to track, for instance, if someone is if they're putting unauthorized materials into a trash can? Because I guess, you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't watch the trash trucks as they come or what they're doing. I just hope they come and pick up my trash, right?
Right.
And so how do we oversee that?
You know, you'd be surprised that we do get calls, and Chris can attest to this, that, hey, someone picked up my recycle today and they put it in the trash can. I mean, our residents are reporting this to us all the time. Well, I shouldn't say all the time, it makes it sound like it happens a lot. It doesn't happen a lot, but we do get reports from citizens about, hey, things are going on. We'll get reports on hydraulic leaks and, you know, all sorts of things, because you're right, we're not driving around following trash trucks
And so
to see what's going on.
Sorry, do you just refer those back to the trash companies now? I mean, if they're not a code violation, I know some of those are, but if it's not a code violation, do you just refer those now back to the trash companies?
So, well,
When
actually,
you
the
get
things
those-
we are talking about are code violations, so that information will get to Chris, and Chris gets with the current haulers, or whoever that hauler was, and make sure that stops.
So, I expressed this before, but that's just, I have a concern about how are we going to, it sounds like a lot. And so it's just like, how is Chris, as magnificent as he is, going to be able to handle all that for the entire city?
Put it in perspective, right now we have, 9 different haulers doing this with no contracts and no accountability. And so we're doing it now, but on a scale that's even more grand than this. This does give us some now we have some contractual authority, and we do have some say, and we do have some repercussions. Now when something goes wrong, it's Chris reaching out, trying to work it out, and maybe he can threaten to pull their hauling permit. But I'm not aware that we've ever done that. But not so. In some ways, this should make it easier. We're dealing with one contractor instead of 9, and we've got some contractual teeth, so to speak.
When we went back just to services really quick, when Councilmember Councilmember Pryor was talking about special services coming to the garage door to pick
Right.
up. What if they don't do that? So what if they aren't performing with special services? I didn't see, was there a penalty? Are they penalized for that as well?
That's a good one. Write that down, Chris, because you're right. Because as you're asking the question, I'm thinking, I don't think we did have a performance measure for that. So yes, I think we would need to add something for failure to provide reasonable accommodation and whatever that impact might be. So, yeah, good catch.
Thank you. I think I would just add by saying, I hope that we do not have to collect funds
I agree, 100%.
for all this, because if it's decided that this moves forward, I want the citizens to have the same service, better service than they had before.
Absolutely.
And so I guess for right now, that's all I have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I agree with your
Yeah.
sentiment there. Exactly. It's the same way we have liquidated damages on our construction contracts. I don't want to be in a situation where we're charging those, because that means something went wrong with the project, and it's not good for us, it's not good for the contractor, it's not good for our customers. So same thing here.
Thanks, Chair.
I have one quick question. I didn't see anywhere in here where and maybe I just overlooked it, but the weather, where it relates to weather. Is there?
There is requirements for notification if they miss a neighborhood without notification. So if there is poor weather, they can't pick it up for some reason, as long as they notify the customers that, hey, we're delayed 24 hours because of the snow, or frankly, we're delayed 24 hours because we had a fire in our shop and we lost 3 trucks. As long as that information is getting to the customers, they're fine. If that information doesn't get to the customer, then we fall back in these liquidated damages.
And they're still held within the 24-hour time frame, even
Right.
for weather?
Right.
Is there any
Yes or no. I mean, we could have a blizzard that lasts 4 or 5 days and they just can't get out.
Okay, so there would be exceptions if there was
Absolutely.
weather. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I just wanted to say one other thing. So to answer your question a little bit about knowing whether or not there's trash. So last year during the fall, I was digging up my mums and I threw them away in my trash can, not even thinking. And my trash company did not pick up my trash because they considered my 2 mums yard waste. So I think they check, I think that they do check that.
If they see it, they won't pick it up. Now, if your lid's down and it's buried in there, they may miss it,
Yeah. All right, thank you. Any other questions right now?
Okay, then the final thing, and I'm really just going to talk about this a little bit more, I don't have a lot of slides, is our response evaluation. Obviously there's minimum requirements. They have to be able to provide a bond and have to be able to show that they can do this work, and that's simply a pass-fail. Either you can do it or you can't. Experience and qualifications, we looked at. Now, the way we kind of talked about these percentages before I get into what these things are, was really kind of looking back at our citizen survey. The number one concern from our citizen survey was cost. So we thought we have to put the biggest emphasis on the evaluation on cost, but it can't be the only thing, because customer service was the number 2. We've got to maintain this quality customer service. And that's going to fall within the project approach. So we put that at 30%. And then experience and qualifications at 20. So experience and qualifications, that's going to be where have you done this before? Where have you serviced communities of similar size? What are those references? What is your staff? What's your staff makeup? What are your experiences? What are your certifications? Those are the things that make up the experience and qualifications. The project approach, that gets into a lot of the things. Okay, you've seen our performance criteria. You know what this is. You know the size of the city. How are you going to stand up a customer service center that's going to be able to meet those expectations? What's your plan? How many customer service reps are there? What's their experience in dealing with customer service? How many trucks are you going to have? How many routes are you going to have for the city? How many zones are you going to break it into? Are you working alone? Or are you working with in a partnership with subcontractors? If so, what are their experience, and how are you going to handle this? So that's really the project approach. Excuse me. How are you going to meet the expectations? What's your resources, and what's your customer service going to look like? And then obviously the cost is the cost. So with that, and that's really the evaluation criteria. As far as being that in an internal team, looking at it, making a recommendation to council, whether that's council kind of just, going through the proposals. We really haven't worked out those details yet. Typically, it would be staff going through those and making a recommendation. But
We do have a quick question. Really
sure,
quick.
absolutely.
So I know that we've said a lot about how there's quite a few of us that would really like to, if this is the point system, to, I don't know how to say this, prioritize local. So how does this evaluation do that?
I think this gives you the opportunity to work within the proposed approach and experience and qualifications, and you can weigh within your conversation as mayor and council what weight you give in the submittal, and it might be that you have a preference in that experience and qualifications at a local more so than a larger national company. And so this gives you a lot of flexibility in how you evaluate a proposal and who you award it to. And as Mr. Anderson just said, we haven't yet described for your reference how the mayor and council want to evaluate the proposals when they're received. So we've conceptually talked about, is this something staff gives you a recommendation, you talk about it, as we want to keep transparency about it, but there's also some dialogue you probably want to have among the proposals and weigh out your various prerogatives and interests. So I think that's something we still need to talk about. Some point between, if this does advance and it is advertised, between that advertisement and the actual openings, that you all have a path forward that you agree on. How do you want this to be kind of revealed, discussed, and presented?
Okay. And then also, you mentioned subcontractors just in passing, but it made me think, if we're going with a company that, say one of the local companies, and we're used to working with them because it's actually that company. But if they're subcontracting, what's our guarantee that we're getting who we're used to working with, and why we are, why we're wanting to go with them, because we have experienced them, or the community already loves them, and it's already, so I guess, how do we ensure that? And I know you can say, well, they're not going to want to hire people that aren't going to represent them well, but subcontractors are still subcontractors.
Yeah, this is great discussion to have, to understand if you want to allow subcontracting. That's great. We do allow subcontracting in a lot of our contracts, but we also sometimes put a limit to it, where we'll say the primary contract, the one that submitted the proposal and the bids, must have a certain percentage or majority of work. Others, not so much. So if it's your preference that we say at least 70% or 65% of the work must be performed by the proposal, the contractor who is proposing to do the work, that limits the amount of subcontracting that's possible. We could write those into the terms of the proposal itself and the terms of the contract.
Right. So basically to ensure that we're not getting the parent company, but then we're getting all subcontractors.
Right. Same thing would be
stuff in other cities.
Terms in the agreement that go to transfer of business, or the sale and purchase of business, and giving the city the right to review that and approve that. You've seen that in contracts before as well. And I expect we would include those in this contract too.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions right now?
Nope.
Okay. With that, I just wanted to make sure that we kind of summarize where we are, but also kind of look back, just make sure that we're clear. This is opportunity. If you had any disagreement with the weighting criteria for the evaluation or any of the proposal key elements, you give us that direction to come back. Or if you feel like this is ready, with exception of, I think, one good comment on a penalty related to reasonable accommodations, maybe it's ready to advance to the full council for discussion. At least that's all I heard as far as question and additional information was that reasonable accommodation penalty. As I was sitting over there thinking maybe it's the same kind of penalty as if you got your trash missed. Same thing would happen if you missed a reasonable accommodation that was scheduled. That would be a reasonable penalty in my mind for somebody, for a homeowner, that, you know, that month's trash service is covered because it wasn't picked up as they expected or it had been arranged with the contractor. But we can certainly work on that detail between now and a council presentation or come back to you in November. These are our next steps. We're moving through committee. City Council would review this RFP when you're ready to put it before them for review. The RFP could be advertised as early as November. We're thinking that would be towards the very end of November. Council would probably hear this, I would guess, at the second meeting in November, even if you advanced it tonight. And so that it would be put out on the streets the last week of November, early December. They would have the remainder of 2025 as contractors to evaluate and prepare their submittals. It would then open sometime in very early January, giving council January and February to really negotiate which contractor they wanted to award and award a contract potentially in February would be kind of the timeline we look for. If contracted, then startup, as I mentioned earlier, wouldn't begin until at the very earliest July of 2027 and no later than June 30th of 2028. And those are based on the statutory restrictions of when we would start up, when we could start up, and when we must start up if we are to proceed.
I have a couple more questions.
So any questions on any of that? And yes.
I think Councilmember Rader has
Thank
a
you.
couple.
Yeah.
General questions. So if we move this forward to, so I want to know our process from here, basically.
Yes.
If we move this forward to the council, in this next conversation that we have, or this next meeting that we have, will there be any information given to us about what the task force revealed?
Well, actually, what the task force revealed is we're repeating a lot of that. They had the task force conversation with staff, and they were giving staff their feedback and preferences as they saw was best fit for the entire community, as they were representing different areas of the community. I wouldn't give that any more weight than what staff had received through public comment, through the HOA meetings, through meetings with haulers, and the public informational meetings. All of that information was gathered in the preparation of these recommendations on key RFP elements. So that was their role, was to kind of synthesize all of that and give us just another sounding board to prepare what you've seen this evening.
So what about the public input?
So the public input has been in the public comments, which started over a year ago. It's the only statistically valid survey we did was with the citizen survey. Then we took public comment throughout this engagement period, online and in person at the 4 public informational meetings. We had public comment involved in our HOA meetings. We've had public engagement even at our meetings tonight and previous meetings at front of the City Council. So all along this entire process, there's been opportunity for public engagement.
But will it be part of our decision-making in the end?
Well, that's up to you, whether or not, yes, I would assume you're going to consider all of the public feedback that's been presented, as well as the information that you don't have and you won't have until you open the proposals. You don't know what the costs are. I don't know that you can really make a fully informed decision until you have gone through this process. And nobody's asking you to make a decision until it is time to either award a contract or to not award a contract. And this timeline would put that decision in probably February.
That makes sense. And then I just had one more thing. At the last meeting, I asked for some numbers, if you had some numbers on, from Mr. Binger on the cost of the road
The road impacts, yes.
The road impacts.
Mr. Binger is here. He did actually do quite a bit of research following your question.
Okay.
Also referencing some studies that had been put out there for consideration. And I believe we have concluded in a lot of agreement even with those studies that any reduction in truck traffic will have a positive benefit to the streets, reduce damage to streets, and reduce maintenance costs of streets. But Mr. Binger is available to give you a little more detail.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. I was going to try to bring the, excuse me, excuse me. George Binger, city engineer. I was going to try to bring this up. Some roughly, let's see. Okay. So generally speaking, what this graph illustrates is the decay curve. Basically, these lines here represent the pavement condition index is on the vertical axis and time is over here. So what I looked at is that, you know, if we look at a single hauler, you know, assuming that our pavement design life is about 35 years. So that's what this is showing on the decay curve. Typical hauler, that's like our current condition where we have 3 to 5 haulers in a neighborhood. And then we have like 11 licensed haulers. I looked at that, you know, 10. If we have all those haulers on every single street, this is what it looks like on the decay curve. So that's what this is illustrating, is just that deterioration over time of our pavement condition index. So when I go to kind of the way I looked at this is when we look at impacts on pavement, we take all the trucks and cars and we convert it to a single unit. It's called an equivalent single axle, which is 18,000 pounds per axle. So what I'm looking at here is the green is like a crack seal maintenance. The amber would be a microsurface maintenance, and the red is when we get to an overlay. And so you can kind of see where I'm looking at the different, so I basically take these, you know, these axle loadings and convert it, you know, over time. And then this is kind of when it triggers the maintenance cycle. So you can kind of see where this overlay is triggered much earlier. We see, you know, in these patterns, you can see where there's more iterations. So that's kind of how we looked at this to develop this impact. And so what that does is when we go back and look at a life cycle cost analysis, looking at our pavements, if I got to get to the right one here. Okay. What we get down to is the typical current condition. We're looking about, you know, roughly that 850,000 is just the mathematical calculation per year. So if we look at it, you know, I would say it's a range from like, let's say 500,000 to this $850,000 per year would be the savings of going from what we have now to a single hauler. And what that's looking at is that a way to quantify this. I mean, our typical overlay program is about excuse me, is about $4 million per year. Our microsurface is about $2 million per year. So you're looking at, you know, let's say 20%, you know, let's say a 20% increase on this, you know, or savings of this. So that's basically, that's more streets we can do per year. So that's kind of the impact. Now, I know some people had referenced some different studies. One of the things that some studies out of Minnesota, and in reviewing those studies, there's an example. I think I have an example here. Nope, I accidentally closed it. Basically, what they state is, in our position, it's an incremental cost. It's like the pavement condition. It's like a secondary, tertiary benefit. Any reduction in truck traffic will have an incremental impact in lengthening the life of the pavement. It will have an incremental effect on safety just because you have fewer vehicles on the road. That's not in any means a deciding factor on pavement life. I mean, pavement life is generally controlled by the environment. It's controlled by the thickness of the pavement as well as the materials and the construction of the pavement. And the city, we've been addressing that over time.
with our 1992 Design and Construction Manual, we were building asphalt directly on clay soil. Since that time, we've improved the asphalt material, so we have a longer-lasting asphalt material with more durable aggregates. We've changed the mixed design methods, and then we've also increased that thickness of pavement. We now require improvements on the subgrade, such as adding either chemically treating the clay soil with lime or Portland cement to make it stiffer, or we lay geogrid over the top of it. We now require a layer of aggregate base or compacted gravel under there. So we've increased the thickness of the pavements as well as the material. So that's the biggest impact on pavement life. This is just illustrating there is an incremental impact or some savings to the city based on the amount of traffic. Now, so again, this is not a deciding factor, but it is a factor. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
And I appreciate all your work on
So.
this. Do you mind sending it to?
Yeah, the information.
Yeah, we can upload that to the packet.
Yep, okay.
So any other questions? That was a good one. You got a little engineering lesson in pavement design, and just remember it's incremental, and it's not, I don't believe it's the intent. It's one of those tertiary benefits, if even that, there's a lot of other benefits to this, and I think principally, though, what you're looking for is providing the same or better service at a lesser cost, and it just boils down to that. I believe that was the intent of the City Council in exploring this as a priority goal.
Thank you. Any additional questions right now? I just have one quick question. So I just want to, again, clarify. So regardless of how the point system all is, at the very end, when it comes time to choose a hauler, it's lowest and best, right?
No, you can evaluate this criteria however you would like, even as it sits in the table and presented. And if you say it's not the lowest price, but it's the best, it's what you want, that's fine. Our request for proposals will also be very clear that you're not obligated to pick any proposal. That you have full discretion to pick any one or none of those that are submitted.
Okay, but I mean, we don't have to choose the lowest. We can choose the best. We
Correct.
can prioritize
Absolutely
best
correct.
over what,
Yep. Right.
just in case there's
We
a
did feel
smaller
it was
hauler that
important
can't
that
come in as.
we weight cost being, 50%, but you could also differentiate, that cost between them isn't much, even if it's a lot, in dollars and cents, but you might not weight them that much different because one's lower than another on a cost category.
Okay. And I've looked at different proposals for other cities that have done this in our area, and they're all coming in, at least seemingly within pretty close range, but I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't.
Yeah, I believe so, and we've also been doing our research, and you see a lot of the information that was presented came from Warrensburg and other communities. This isn't all that unique. Most communities that we presented before are under a contract of some sort. And you're right, the proposals that are received are typically fairly close to each other in a cost range.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Carlisle?
Thank you. I really don't have a question as much as just comment. I don't mind moving this forward to the full council for discussion at any time, whether that be now or later. But I would just ask that once it goes to full council, if it goes and does not come back to us, that you guys could provide us some kind of a idea of how you judge contracts, maybe. Like, this is, when we sit down, this is typically what we go through. So that just gives us more of an idea of how maybe we would want to think it through as we get to full council for that discussion.
That'd be great, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I just thought of one more question. So will the reviewing of the contracts, because I know typically that's closed session, isn't it? Is that going to be all public, or what does that look like?
Well, that's a process I wasn't sure. We haven't yet talked to the full council about how you want to evaluate the proposals when it's time to open them. Typically, and this isn't a typical process in the sense that this has a much larger, broader community impact than a design contract that we bring forward. But normally in a design contract scenario, staff will evaluate all of the proposals. We'll come forward to you in a Public Works Committee with a recommendation, and you see the packet and you see who was the next lowest in bid. And then you typically make that recommendation in an ordinance to approve. You may want to evaluate or have the room to evaluate all of these proposals because you are wanting maybe some different considerations, not just lowest price or lowest and best. Just give a little insight, Councilmember Carlisle. What we're looking for is, are they lowest, and then have they been in any problems in the past? We're looking at their experience, their qualifications, can they carry out the work? As Ms. Rolovo earlier this evening said, we call them up and we say, hey, your price is really low. Are you sure you can do this job? And in that case, they said they could, but ultimately they couldn't do that job. And so that's what we're looking for. This has a little more consideration, you know, whether they're local, they're larger, their reputation, their approach to the transition, how they respond to pickup and all that. So there's a little more that goes into this one than your normal design contract. And I expect we will want to have that conversation with you to have an understanding between advertisement and opening. How do you guys want to review that and then come to a decision?
Okay, and then would all of the submittals be public though?
Yes.
Even, okay, good.
They would all be public. It's just, I would need to have more conversation, as would you with legal counsel on, you want to be as transparent as you can, but you also, do you get in the nitpick of what parts of proposals you like more than others, and how careful do you have to be in that if it's completely out here or if it is allowed in a closed session or not? I don't know. But all of it would be made public.
Okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Okay, so I think I got agreement on the evaluation criteria. I got agreement on all the key elements. We have the one outstanding reasonable accommodation fine or liquidated damages. I've heard from, I think, one or two of you that you're fine moving it or advancing it now to the full council. What about the rest? Do we have kind of a general concurrence to advance it, or do you want to come back again with that one remaining question to answer?
I think I would recommend to move it to full council.
Okay.
I feel like at this point, I feel like we've kind of answered or asked the questions that we have, and so maybe moving to the full council, there's going to be a lot of other questions that they're going to have, so I feel like that's probably the best thing to do.
You say it's for discussion. We're not moving to council for approval. We're just discussing at a higher level with more people.
Yeah, the way I anticipate this whole presentation that we've made will be made again at the full council for them to consider the RFP key elements, the evaluation criteria, those same penalties. We will have the RFP more fully developed, so you can see that in the full packet. And if the council is ready, if we've addressed all the questions, full council will give me consensus, give staff consensus to advertise. Now, if there's not a consensus, we may have to take a vote just to see that we have the votes to go ahead and advertise. And then it would go out like any other opportunity for contractors to bid. Those would open some point in January, and then the council would make a decision. That's the decision point I keep trying to get to, is February, when you have all the information.
So we could still go that route and get the RFPs and come to the conclusion, like, actually, we don't want to do this at all.
Absolutely. If you get proposals back and the prices are just, wildly unexpected, and you say, this just does not provide the value we thought it was going to provide for all of your constituents, walk away. I mean, why would you try to award a contract? And for sure the proposal will include your flexibility to walk away or choose any one of them.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep. Do we need to do anything, or is that?
I think I got clear direction
Okay.
to advance this to probably the November 18th agenda.
All right, perfect. That takes us to council roundtable and staff roundtable. Any council comments at all for roundtable? I mean, committee comments for roundtable? No. All right, staff roundtable?
Just a couple of things to note. We just had another good stream team last Saturday, and Recycle Fest will be November 1st. That's prior to our next committee meeting, so I just wanted to make that public announcement, and I'm sure Mr. Dunning will do so as well as the date gets closer. And then Director of Water Utilities, Jeff Thorne, would like to introduce a new employee to you also. Give him a moment to do so.
Good evening. Our newest employee, Ms. Lisa Odell. Lisa has joined us in my previous role as Deputy Director. So, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa Odell, new Deputy Director for Water Utilities. Thank you for the time just to kind of introduce myself a little bit. I won't take too much time, but I've got around 20 years experience in kind of water, wastewater, and so you may recognize me. I spent a lot of time with the Little Blue Valley Sewer District. So also a little bit of time in consulting as well, so kind of split time there. So really glad to be here, really excited for the kind of direction that this body and Lisa in general has taken towards their water utilities, and excited to be a part of that going forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
So sorry.
Councilmember Carlisle does have something to say.
I'm sorry. It just clicked in my head that I've gotten a couple more questions on Pryor Road and where we're at in that process.
Pryor Road, the closure, it will be closed probably till this time next year. Now, it'll be in different phases of work. Obviously, it's a 2.5-mile job.
Right.
They started, and I believe they're working from Longview just to the north of Eagle Creek right now. We're currently coordinating a planned closure to come up at the intersection of Scherer Road and Pryor. They're beginning their paving operation. I think they've got a lot of their underground work done, so they'll start with their concrete paving any day now. I don't know which end of the project they'll start on with their paving. And then likely next spring, I would imagine they're ready to move on to the next phase. So that portion from Longview south will be then opened, and they'll move on to the next phase of construction. But
Okay, so about another year for the full
for the full
term of
thing,
the
about
work.
another year.
Okay,
Correct.
great. Thank you.
Yep.
And will it be fabulous when you're done?
It will be. And I omitted to mention this because we're actively working on it right now. Is the ribbon cutting and opening of Colburn Road. It's scheduled for the 20th. I think that's, yes, next Monday.
Oh, my.
Next Monday morning. We have a whole guest of speakers to come and kind of celebrate the opening of Colburn Road, though there will still be some punch list items that they're wrapping up. Discovery Park is still working adjacent to Colburn Road, and they have some turn lanes they're doing. And then I believe there's a water main project that crosses Colburn Road too. So, but it will be open for public use, and we wanted to get it open as soon as it could be practically open for use, and that's next Monday.
What time?
That's what I was just pulling up here on my emails. I believe it is at 9:30 in the morning.
Woohoo! You guys
Yes,
better be there.
9:30.
You better
I
be there.
can't, that's after I drop my kids off. So well, is it a Friday?
Monday.
Monday.
Oh, good. Then it's not late. Yeah. So that's after I drop my kids off. So I will
So
be at work.
that one is going to open, yes.
We'll represent you in spirit. We'll put up a sign that says Trish.
Now,
Get your head.
Oh, yeah, I'll take your little sign.
I'm sure we could wait and try to keep it closed until everybody's
No,
ready.
no,
But I
no,
think
no.
people want to open, so we're ready to open. Yeah.
So that actually did remind me also, I've gotten a couple of questions about 3rd Street. When will the street lights be added, and when, do you know when it's going to be open?
So yes, the
Completely
job will
open?
be done in November, so we're within 4 to 6 weeks of it completely being done on 3rd Street there. I think they still got some work in the downtown area. I'm going to turn my head back, look to Mr. Binger, but I believe on Market Street they'll move from 3rd Street west of Jefferson to start their work on Market Street and completing some of the streetscape.
On 3rd Street.
Right.
And what does that entail? The street lights and everything
They're doing,
else?
yeah, the same kind of downtown street lights, tree grates, the bump outs, those sort of things that were omitted on the previous downtown streetscape project, all along Market there and over towards Jefferson, the far west end of downtown.
Okay, thank you.
And it does, I try to drive through there as much as I can to and from, work. That 3rd Street corridor is looking pretty good.
Yeah, but I drove over a nail.
You drove over a nail?
I drove over a nail right before I left for Colorado, and I had to go get it fixed right along there. And then yeah. Apparently it's happened to a few people.
Okay.
Be careful driving through
Make
there.
sure they reach out to us if incidents like that occur.
Oh, well, I didn't. But they only charge like $25 to patch it, so.
No, when you drive through, you'll see all the sod is pretty much laid. Good time for the weather for it to take hold. And yep. Any other comments?
I think that's.
I don't have anything else either.
All right.
Thank you.
So I would adjourn the meeting at 5:58. That clock's a minute wrong.